Anton, we're recording. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. You're saying that as if we don't speak every second of every day.
We speak every single day, and I'm trying to be super formal on this on this podcast.
No, yeah. No, it's good to be here, mate. I'm glad to be a part of it. And what you're growing at the moment is incredible. And it's great to see you up your game across your social media, YouTube, everything. And you're putting out a lot of great stuff. So it's good to see, mate.
We're getting there. I'm coming out of the shadows. No longer a ghost. So
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I'm taking some hints from you. That's for sure.
Well, the thing is, you're so good at what you do, right? And it's just the one thing that you were lacking on was the social media side of things because you were never comfortable with it. And now you've thrown yourself out the comfort zone. You're giving great value to a lot of people. And that's why we do what we do, right?
For sure, for sure. So yeah, like I was saying to you, obviously before we hit record, and maybe any coaches that are watching this, maybe you've watched a few of my previous episodes with other coaches, but essentially what I'm doing is I'm going from fitness coach to fitness coach with all of my connections that I've built over the last 12, 13 years. And I really want to shine a light on the people who are doing the right things and people who are good human beings, genuine human beings like
Yeah.
yourself, Anton, who are legitimately running a successful fitness business. So there's no social media trickery or no pulling any wool over your eyes or anything like that. Every single person that I'm having on has been vetted by me personally,
Yeah.
and they're having a tremendous impact in the world. And you're one of those people as well. So for those of you that don't know who you are, would you like to just run through a little bit about your story and where you've come from? Because you've had a whirlwind of a career and so on.
Yeah. It's mad to think. Obviously, turned 30 last year, and the things that I've done in the last 13 years has been incredible. But yeah, first and foremost, the story goes back to being overweight as a kid, coming from like a foreign background. You know, dad's Italian, mum's Burmese, Ukrainian background. Always amazing food in the house, and you've been to our house and obviously had some of the food that my mum cooks and everything. So we always had great food, and just as a part of that, just ended up overweight going into high school. As a consequence of that, ended up getting bullied, and yeah, it just got to the stage where I massively kind of fell into. And that day, you didn't really know what depression was or talk about it, but slowly but surely was getting depressed and started, giving up things I was good at, such as football. I was doing boxing, but I just lost confidence in myself. And the more inactive I got alongside eating the food, the more weight I put on. So I ended up in this kind of vicious cycle at that point. So around about the time when I was around 15, my mum started to notice this, and you've met my mum. She's a very hard love type of person. So she started, rather than sort of wrapping me in cotton wool and saying, no, it's okay, you're good the way you are, she was like, right, let's do something about it. And she started dragging me to the gym at 5 o'clock in the morning before school. So you can imagine as a teenager, that was obviously not the best thing to start with, like, dragging me out of my bed to get there. But what I realised as I started to go within a couple of weeks, you don't get a six pack in a couple of weeks, right? As much as some of these influencers or whatever may try and sell you that type of thing. But yeah, you don't. But essentially, I started feeling better. And the more I started feeling better, the more confidence I got, the more I wanted to go to the gym and the more I wanted to train. The more I did that, the more my body started to change. So by the time I was 17, I'd completely transformed my body. It was time to leave school at that point. And yeah, I wanted to go and study sports science. I actually had a scholarship to go to America to study sports science alongside my football because I got back into it. But at that time, I was in a long-term relationship, so that was part of the reason I didn't go. And during that time also, I started working for a boot camp company during the summer holiday between going from like we call it high school in Scotland, but the later end of your school years, heading into obviously like university. I started working for a boot camp company, just work experience, and the guys basically gave me probably the best advice I'd ever got in my life. They said, well, what are you going to university for? And I said, well, I want to study sports science. And they said, well, look, Anton, it's great that you'll get this degree and amazing that you'll have that. But essentially, if you want to come out and be a personal trainer, you just have to do 4 years. You'll have this science degree, great, but you still have to do all the personal training courses and the fitness courses. Why not do that now? We'll put you through that and then just gain experience. And it was like, that makes so much more sense, right?
That's
And
true.
it was probably, yeah, exactly. So I ended up doing the course, and then I worked with that company for about a year. And then at the time, it was boot camps. That's all it was. And they were massive at the time. And I just kind of thought, like, I can do this. Like, it's a field, it's people, that's all you need. And yeah, just took the sort of plunge, went at it myself. No business plan, nothing like that, just action. So yeah, got a field. Obviously, the area that we stay in, we've got 30 acres of land, so we had the space, and yeah, just genuinely started with two people. That went on for weeks and weeks, actually months, to be honest. It went on for months, and then I got a leaflet drop. I got, I think it was like 5,000 or 10,000 leaflets. And what I would do was just spend my day during the day getting in the car, driving to the local housing estate and putting leaflets through doors,
Nice.
offering free classes. And then before you know it, your classes start to grow, you start to get a good reputation for yourself. And within a year, my classes went from two people, like two times a week, to then having like 50 people in a bootcamp field night after night. From that point, knocked down an old woodshed, ended up, creating a personal training studio at that point, started personal training, then built my clientele base up from that aspect. So I got to a position by the time, I was like 19, I'm fully booked with personal training. My classes are full every single night. So it was time to take the next step, and that was starting to do more different style of classes rather than just boot camp. So opened up a studio, a bigger sort of area at the ranch. So we now had boot camps on, we had normal classes on, was fully booked with personal training. And yeah, everything was flying at that point, which was amazing. I was doing what I loved to do. And I think that was just a massive part of the whole thing. Was it was never about like, let's do this to make money. It was always do this to help people. And I was just happy to be helping people. And then what actually happened as a consequence is I started running a very successful business. So then what happened beyond that point was the next stage for me was children's fitness. So again, being overweight as a kid myself, very passionate about helping kids from a younger age. And what happened was I realised that there was a gap in the market, that my classes were actually quite busy. Most of these clients were parents. So why not, now that I'm in a position, I can pay an instructor £25 per hour to take my classes, that if you've got 50 people paying £5 an hour, you're still profiting £200 on that class anyway.
Yep.
And then from that point, they can have their kids go to my kids' boot camps. So I started running kids' boot camps at the same time, done my kids' exercise qualifications. And that, I thought that would just grow the business from the kids aspect, but it actually improved my adults business as well, because the kids were bringing actual adults. So rather than them having to wait in their kids exercising, they're like, well, I may as well go and do a class as well.
You made it more convenient.
Yeah, exactly, right? So it just ended up blowing up the business, overnight, essentially. That's what it felt like at that point. So, at this stage, I'm sitting at, I think I'm about 21 years old. I bought myself a Porsche, I'm running a successful business, and life's great, because ultimately I'm doing the things that I love to do. So the next stage for me at that point was then kids summer camps. So same scenario. During the kids summer holidays, parents have that issue of childcare. That's their main issue, right? So they're paying hundreds and hundreds of pounds a week for someone to look after the kids while they go to work, and there's no way around it if you do not have family. So I started doing kids' summer camps. So what I would do is take 30 kids during the kids' summer holidays. And yeah, 30 kids, sorry, during each week of the kids' summer holidays. So across like the 7-8 weeks.
Yeah.
These were fully booked throughout the full summer. I was charging £100 per kid. I was teaching them, so you were doing like £3,000 a week just on child's fitness.
Yeah.
I was teaching them about exercise, but how to cook healthy meals, obviously team building, healthier habits. And it was just an amazing, amazing experience during that week. And at the end of each week, what I essentially done was have like a graduation for the kids. So at the time, I used to always wear snapbacks, and the kids used to always take my snapbacks off me and wear my snapback because they thought I was cool. So I kind of, at the end of each week, I thought, at the end of graduation ceremony, you always have your hats and your certificate and everything. So I would get them their ranch snapbacks with their certificates. Their parents would come along, each of the kids would get like a reward of what they achieved that week, and they would be in teams, etc. And the parents were just like, this is incredible what you're doing, Anton. Like, my kid's completely different within this week. And yeah, you know me well enough now. I'm always thinking next steps, bigger, more impact, target more people. And at the time, this was 2016. So exercise DVDs were still a massive thing at this point. So randomly one day, I can remember the actual moment where I'm doing my cross trainer cardio in the morning, and I'm like, I'm going to bring out a kids exercise DVD. When I look back on things now and I talk about it, it's mad how like almost naive I was. It was just like it wasn't even like plan it or think about it and put things together. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't do that. I do think you should always have a plan in place for things, but there is something to be said about just taking massive action. Right, it's just, you know what I mean. There's just something to be said for just taking action. So yeah, I kind of came in. And I was like, right, this is what I'm doing. I looked up to see if there was any kids exercise DVDs in the UK. There wasn't. Looked up the most successful exercise DVD of all time in the UK, because at the time I was listening to Tony Robbins, and he always said that success leaves clues. So find someone that's doing what you want to do and then role model it, and then do it your own way, kind of thing. So I was like, right, okay, let's find out this the most successful exercise DVD. And the person that's name came up shocked me. It was Charlotte from Geordie Shore, because you know the story, of course. So Charlotte from Geordie Shore, which I couldn't believe, because at the time I was a young lad. I mean, I'm still 21 at this stage, and I used to watch that sort of stuff as well. So I was like, man, this girl's known for literally pissing the bed, going out getting pissed every single weekend, and she is selling the most exercise DVDs of all time in the UK. I was like, that's crazy. I need to find out who her management is. So as the story goes, we find out our management company, and it turns out it's a company called Bold Management. I go into my mum and I'm like, look, mum, can you phone this up? You know, big me up, etc. My mum being my mum, no problem. Goes, phones the management company up, and again, the whole process of how we just thought we could just do this was crazy. So she phones up the management. She says, look, my son's looking to bring out a kids exercise DVD. We see the amazing work you've done with Charlotte. Would you be interested? And they simply said, well, who's your son? Anton Danyluk. He's been in the fitness industry for the last 7 years. You know, he's got his own gym. He does kids fitness, this, that, big spiel about everything. They just turned around and said, is he a celebrity? And my mum's like, yeah, to me he is. You know what she's like, because she's just that way with me. But she's like, nah, he's not a celebrity. And they said, well, I'm sorry, we only deal with celebrities. Yeah. And my mum being my mum, you know her well enough now, Josh, as well, just says it how it is. And she just turned around and she went, have you seen my fucking boy? Just as plainly as that. And the management just laughed, obviously, because I mean, I don't think they've ever been used to being spoke to like that. And she says, look, all I'm asking, let me send you a few pictures of my son. That's it. So she sent.
Was this the first moment that you saw the power of social media? Of you being 21 years old, already running a relatively successful business. Was this the first moment where you did search and you realized it was Charlotte from Geordie Shore and she had all this success with these fitness DVDs? Is this the first moment where you thought, wow, I need to get seen a lot more because this is the impact that I can have?
No, actually, this is what's interesting about this story, is because at the time it wasn't even so much a social media thing. Yes, Facebook was a thing at that point, but my correlation at that point was in the reason she's sold this is because she's big on social media. It's because it's Charlotte from Geordie Shore, right? She's a celebrity. That's kind of how I seen it at that point. The influencer market wasn't really a thing then. It was 2016. It wasn't like that. It wasn't like you followed people on social media the way we do now, I wouldn't say, or I wasn't aware of it so much so. Don't get me wrong, I was very aware at the time that when I was posting things on Facebook, that's when I was getting leads from at that point. That was starting to become a thing rather than the leaflet drops, although I was still doing them. But yeah, essentially, no, that wasn't that moment, because When the management, once my mum sent the photos over of myself, the management called back in 10 minutes and they say to me, Anton, look, we love your image. We love what you look like. Would you be interested in doing X on the beach? Would you be interested in doing that?
Right.
And I turned around and it's so interesting at how level headed I was at that age. I was like, I am not interested in reality TV. I said, I'm like, I've been on this mission to help as many people as I can. And I believed I could do anything. If there was a wall, I believed I could run through it. Right at that age, I just had so much belief because at that stage in my career, everything I'd done turned to gold. I couldn't miss. That's what it felt like, and I just believed that I could just do anything. And I said, I'm not interested in reality TV. Like, I want to bring out a kids' exercise DVD. We can do this. You've got the, the people that you need to speak to, and I know what I'm doing. Just let's do it. Anton, you need to kind of be a somebody to do this. I said, well, I'm not interested in the end of conversation. So this was 2016. So the management followed me on Facebook at the time. And obviously 3 years pass and I'm still growing the business and things are still moving. But it's funny because I think sometimes when you start a business, it's like exponential growth. And then it just was kind of like, like hovering. And I wasn't getting that fulfillment of going further and further. So 2019 comes a whole 3 years later. And at the time, reality TV is starting to get bigger and bigger. Love Island starts coming about. All these different other shows are coming out. Instagram starts popping. These people are bringing out book deals, are bringing out DVDs, are bringing out all this sort of thing. You're seeing it everywhere. All these brand deals, everything. And I ends up becoming single on Facebook. And honestly, with the same day I became single on Facebook, that management phoned me and they're like, Anton, we've got an opportunity at Love Island this year for you. Are you up for it? And at that point, that was the moment 3 years later when I went, this is what I need to do to go to that next level.
Any new coaches watching this, Facebook official was a thing. So
Yeah,
if you
yeah.
were Facebook official in a relationship or you wasn't in a relationship back
Oh,
then,
yeah.
it was huge. Everybody knew it. It
Yeah.
was like, oh my God, like
like
big news.
like you would literally break up with your girlfriend and then you'd be in that hesitation mode to actually go to like because that's official. That's like if you take it off Facebook, it's done. And you'd always I remember with one of my exes when we were younger, like we wouldn't speak for days and you'd be checking your Facebook official, like has she went single yet? Because that's how serious it was. So yeah, that came about, and it turned out it was interesting because it turned out it was just an opportunity to apply for the show. So when a management company puts you forward, it's almost like a fast track process because. The year I done Love Island was the biggest year ever, and there was 150,000 applications that year. 150,000 applications, and basically what happens is people send in their videos, right? And there'll be a casting member like watching it just next. But when a management company puts someone forward, they will watch the full video, right? So it's like that, you get that real opportunity to be seen. But then you still have to go through all the other stages. So there was like 5 stages to the process. But I always remember that day, Josh, and at the time I was watching I'd watched The Secret, obviously all about the law of attraction. And I wrote down in my diary that day in the February, 3rd of June, first day on Love Island. So I wrote this in the February, 3rd of June. So anyway, this is way before obviously the show happened. And what ended up happening was went through the full process and we ended up going into the villa on the 1st of June and it was aired on the 3rd of June, the first episode. And it was interesting. That was a moment where I was like, wow, like I didn't only predict and believe that I was going to get on the show. I was going to start they'd never had a Scottish guy on the show, and I believed that I was going to start, and that was it. And what was interesting about that is because I had that belief in my head, they'd actually phoned me up a few weeks before to offer me a bombshell role, which is coming in after the show.
Right.
This is actually something you don't know, and they actually offered me the bombshell role. And because I'd had programmed into my head, and I was so focused on starting.
Yeah.
When it actually came about and they gave me the call to tell me I'm getting on Love Island, bearing in mind, one of the biggest shows at the time, I was like, oh, but I'm not starting. Like, I was really disappointed. Really disappointed. And they were like, no, Anton, but this is like, you realise how many people apply, you're actually on the show, you'll be on very early. And I was like, all right, cool. So I end up coming off the phone, my mum speaks to me and she's like, well, I take it you never got it? And I was like, no, I did, but just a bombshell. Mum's like, no, it's fine, son, like, don't worry. So I ended up going out to drive that day, went for a sunbed, came back. By the time I was driving back, they phoned me back and they said, Anton, actually, want you in London next week. So,
Change
yeah, so they changed their mind, right? So I think what was interesting about that is because I think because of my reaction, that's why that happened, right? So a lot of people say like the law of attraction's like bullshit or whatever, right? And in a lot of ways, I don't believe that you just go, right, I'm going to be a millionaire, and then you just sit back. It's the actions you take, right, and the steps you take towards that with that belief system in place. I believed I was going to start that show that year, and because of my reaction in the back end of that, I think that that's why I actually did start that show. Otherwise, I would have went in as a bombshell. And in Love Island history, if you start the show, you've got a better chance of going the more of the distance, right? So that's essentially what happened. It went in the show, went from the start, went to the end, was a fan favourite that year, and yeah, obviously came off with a massive following from that point.
Yeah. How did you handle that? Obviously, we've had these conversations,
Yeah.
but for anyone listening,
Yeah.
because I think there's a lot of fitness coaches who they want to grow following, they want to get more eyeballs on their page and their product, their service, etc. But to actually be on the opposite side of that, especially with how fast like it
Oh, yeah.
actually grew,
Yeah.
how did you handle that personally?
Yeah, so to kind of give context to the whole situation, I went into Love Island with 4,000 followers. I came off the show 9 weeks later with 1.4 million followers, and the whole nation pretty much knowing who you are. So when you come off, it's just this whirlwind, and nothing can ever prepare you for it. And I thought this is great because I know my mission. I am going in here. I'm going to go in. I'm going to impact so many lives when I come off. I'm going to do this with my fitness business. I'm going to do that with this, and just had so much vision of where I was going. In the time I was in Love Island, my gym actually got closed down because what was happening was press was climbing over the wall. That was just causing a lot of inconvenience. People were coming for the wrong reasons, and it just became a disaster when I was away. So I'm now coming out the show from having a very successful business before to not having a business. But this wasn't a big deal because you're famous now, right? So you're thinking, nah, it's cool, we'll work this out. Like, we're good. I had all these personal appearances booked in where, I had 86 personal appearances in 90 days, where I went from, nightclub to nightclub, night after night, drinking, and I just became a completely different person. I was making so much money at that stage. And I just lost my vision and mission along the way because I thought that life was never going to end. It's very hard to go from earning £30 an hour as a personal trainer to earning £3,000 an hour as a 24-year-old guy in a club drinking with girls throwing themselves at you. A stage in my life I'd completely missed where most people go through as a teenager or into their early 20s because I was growing my business. So I got really absorbed in it. And yeah, I completely lost myself in that whole journey. And then obviously, yeah, it's amazing. And when you're in it, but it doesn't last very long because the next season of Love Island comes around. And I think that more so was the hardest part. It wasn't so much the attention. I was very lucky that I've never really had that much hate off the back end of Love Island because I've always been liked on the show. But what it was very much going from like hero to zero. And then you're in this position where you've earned all this money.
Yeah.
But as we know, when you earn that kind of money, you spend that type of money as well. But then you've got no core foundations. You've got no recurring revenue. You don't know when the next deal's coming around. You have no business now. And you're at scratch with a lot of money. But with a lot of money and no direction is quite dangerous, actually. Because you start throwing in things and sticking things at something, hoping it's
You become
next.
numb to money, don't you? You
Yeah.
essentially become numb. I mean, I remember being like that in Spain and like spending thousands of euros on just dinner
Yep.
with friends. And yeah,
Yeah.
I've been in that position as well. So I completely like resonate. And but I think that the most impactful thing with your story is you've been so open, honest, and also a lot of people just stereotype people on reality TV. And the great thing about your story is you've had a successful business before, you've
Yeah.
had huge impact before. Like you had your head screwed on before. It's not like you randomly went on this show and that's your entire identity, and it's not. Like you
Yeah.
still wake up every day having an impact,
Yeah.
and you're trying to do good in the world, which is amazing to see.
Yeah. Obviously, now we've got there. I think that if the last 5 years has been very difficult. I mean, I went through a stage where I fell into massive depression, because nothing quite was fulfilling that high of coming off Love Island and making that kind of money. And for the first time in my life, it became about money rather than impact. And the more I was chasing money, the further it was going away from me. And then, recently I was sitting in a position where, you've got these followers about 2 years ago now. I'm sitting in a position where I've got all these followers. I've got, X amount of money. I've got the watches. I've had the cars. I've had it all. And I'm so unfulfilled. It's unbelievable. And that is one of the biggest failures in life, where you achieve everything that you think you want and you're not fulfilled. So I had to almost reverse engineer it to think, when was I happy? And I just took it right back to when I was happy. And that was when I was helping people. And that was it. That there was no other hidden agenda other than, I'm taking this person and transforming their life just like I did with mine. That's it. And I went back to that. And since going back to that, my businesses have started growing again. I've got real impact. I've started working with yourself and people that are actually, you start to, when you're in the influencer world, you start to believe that there's no real people around, the people that actually care. And then when you meet people like yourself, we've obviously brought other people into the team that actually do care about making impact, right? It then makes you realise, okay, there is still good people left in the world, and it makes you believe as well.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, this is the whole point of conversations like this, to show that as well, to showcase that. I mean, what was that pivotal sort of shift for you? Because I remember when we hopped on a phone call, I think it was November last year now,
Yeah.
October, November last year. What was that pivotal point for you where you was in that kind of lull? You had all this money, the cars, the watches, etc., and you wanted to get back to feeling good and doing good things in the world. What was that switch for you?
It was when it got to such a bad stage where I didn't want to be here anymore. It got that bad. I ended up getting I heavily started numbing things with alcohol and drugs, and it got so bad. There was one evening where I tried to overdose. Tried to take that much tablets to overdose. Woke up the next again day. I remember the thought was, I can laugh about it now, but it's obviously not. It's a serious point because I maybe wouldn't have been here to tell the story, right? But I remember waking up and going, "For fuck's sake, are you still here? You can't even do that, right?" That was kind of the thought in my head. Like I went from this kid that believed he could run through a wall to believing that I couldn't do anything right. And, I lost so much money at this point. I tried to invest in a gym in Dubai. I was blowing money here. I was broke. I was broke again. And I just didn't know what to do. And I had nothing. It was a crazy moment because it was approaching my 29th birthday, I remember. And I remember just thinking back, like, when you were 21, you were so successful. You're 29 and you've got nothing. You've got literally nothing other than this Rolex on your fucking wrist that you're probably going to have to sell.
Yeah.
That's how bad it was. So yeah, that moment when I woke up the next day, I kind of looked at myself and I said, right, okay, you've got a year till you're 30. Just give yourself a year, Anton. That was the thought in my head, was just give yourself a year, give yourself 110% every day, and if it doesn't turn round, then do this again if you want. That was kind of just as silly as the conversation was. So I did. I moved back in with my mum and dad. I moved back got myself out in Marbella, moved back in with mum and dad, and just worked. Just like put my head down and when I say worked, you know the capacity I can go on my workloads. Like a lot of people have like I just go right. It's not always the best thing, but it's what I had to do in that moment to just move forward and put my focus into something else. So I built back out my coaching businesses. I built out a fitness app. Obviously started working on a kids child's app as well, and just kept working, kept being creative, and kept my mind as busy as I physically could. And the interesting thing was, I'm just feeling good. I'm getting better. I'm feeling amazing. Things are flowing. Love Island phone again. And they're like, Anton, we're running an all-star series. Obviously, you were one of the biggest characters throughout the full shows, and we want you. And you've now got this decision to make where you're like, right, okay, is this a test, or or am I going to ruin everything again? Because this is the thing. I'm not saying that was Love Island, but this is the thing that ruined everything. I'm in a good place here now.
Yeah.
But then I took it as, do you know what? Sorry,
Was there any hesitation in regards to taking that second show?
yeah,
What
yeah.
happened after the first show?
Yeah, because I mean, you're talking about your life here. Like, I'm not in a dramatic way. Like I nearly wasn't here because of not because of the show, but because of the aftermath of the show.
Yeah.
So you're making a decision here. Like, is it worth just continuing as you're going on? You're starting to feel good again, or do you go right, Anton? You're being given a second opportunity here. Are you going to do things differently?
Yeah.
And that was the difference, and that was the question in my head. And it's like, right, okay, let's prove that you've actually grown. And I went back into it. It was funny. I mapped out everything to wearing glasses on the show to look smarter, more intelligent, more mature. To having setters in my account during the time that I was on Love Island, to building out lead magnets, to having a fitness app ready to go for me coming off the show. It was mapped out, and I mapped out content from the first week that I entered the villa to the last week that I left. I feel as if, again, I'm going to start, I'm going to end. And I did. Mapped it all out, came off the show, got offered the personal appearances, got offered everything again, said no to them, said no to the brand deal, said no to everything, and just focused on my business. And getting back to where you came into play, that was obviously in the January. I'm getting to this stage with my business, and obviously we had met a few times through obviously a mutual party, and I kind of got this idea about a certain project where we could help influencers grow their businesses through fitness or impacting people in some way. Obviously, reached out to you. You being the way you are, you make the idea a million times better. I basically throw ideas at Josh, and that he structures them in a way to make them work. And that's how we obviously came to working with each other.
Yeah, no, mate, it's an incredible story, and this was one of the biggest things that I've got you to do, is to tell your story so much more, and
Yeah.
like, the world's a better place with you. So first and foremost, really, really glad obviously you're still here, and obviously with what
Yeah.
you went through, and like I said, the world's a better place with you
Yeah.
here, and it's the impact that you'll have, make the lives that you're changing. Ignore the money for a second. I'm in Anton's community as well, and I see the messages, and I see the transformations Anton's actually having on a lot of people's lives, and it's so nice to see someone in your position where you did go almost into that reality world, that celebrity status, but you stayed true to you, and you've come back to your core roots and come
Yeah.
back to your core mission, and it's just so nice to see the repercussions of all of the hard work that you are doing.
Yeah.
And Anton's not lying when it comes to hard work. I mean, if I'm up at 5, he's up at half 4. Our boy's up at 4.
Yeah.
There's not many people that will outwork me, but you're one of them.
Yeah.
So, mate,
Yeah, whether it's efficient, sometimes we speak about this, but like I spoke about in the beginning, I'm like very much just more of an action taker, right? And I think that that's good for me because of the way my mind works. I need to stay occupied and busy and just push forward. But yeah, I think that going back to kind of what you're saying about, you obviously were the person that said you need to tell your story more, and I was petrified to tell my story. I'm the fitness guy. How can I be? It was interesting because there was so many times that I was high or I was drunk, and I'm posting fitness content to try and take money off people. That's how bad it got. And obviously, once I turned that all around, I was just going to get on with it like nothing had happened to me, or so just Anton's this perfect. He's got the body, he's got the life, he's got just as if nothing happened. And you're like, tell your story. And I tell it day in, day out now. And the trust that is built with people, the help that it's given people. Because what is great about my story and what I'm actually grateful for is, yeah, I had to go through my pain, but I know that it's helping so many people. Because when they look at my life, yeah, it's okay being rich. Most people say, okay, I want to be rich. So other people say, I want to be famous. Other people say, I want the watches, I want the cut, whatever it is. I've had it all. I've had what most people think success is in some way. I've had it all. And I can say it's not what you think it is. It's not. And it genuinely isn't. And I realised that the most important thing in life and what is success to me, and it's waking up with purpose every day. It's as simple as that. Waking up with purpose every single day. That may be your family. For you, that's going to be your son and Gemma in the next few weeks. For me, it's waking up and helping people. For other people, it's making money. Whatever it is, as long as you wake up and you have something to go for every day, that's what I think success is.
Amazing, amazing. I love that. What would you say to this new generation of coaches that are coming through now that are confused in regards to what success actually is, and they're confused in regards to what life they should live, what goal they should strive for? And the reason this resonates with me and the reason I want to get this message across is because I had this analogy when I first left employment. I left my hometown, I had my business online. I remember trying to explain to Gemma, because I was really struggling at that time, like right at the start of my career. And I said to Gemma, I was like, this, my life's almost gone from looking down this corridor and I've got one door that's been open the entire time that I can go in and out of, and every other door down this corridor is locked, to now hundreds of thousands of doors all open at the exact same time. And I really struggled with that originally, because it's like, well, which door do you go in? What if I go in the wrong door? What if I go in there and then come out and then I've wasted time? I've only got one life. And it's so confusing. And I think that's only got worse and worse and worse for people who are starting their career now and they're maybe younger in their game or up and coming in the fitness industry as a fitness coach. What would your advice be to someone who is seeing all of these opportunities and all of these options? And what advice would you give to them to stay true to themselves?
Well, I think that with anything, even if they were to go back to what they'd say to their clients about why are you starting your fitness journey, it's what's your why factor, right? So
Yeah,
what was their why factor for starting their coaching journey in the first place? Why did they want to become a coach? And whatever door leads to them fulfilling that, I think is the most important one, right? It's not like we spoke about chasing the money. It's chasing what you're trying to achieve with your coaching. That's what I believe. And also, one thing that you've taught me very, very well is only open one door at a time and actually go through that door, test that door.
yeah,
Is it working? Is it the right direction? Okay, if not, let's move on to the next door. But don't try and open a few doors at once and try and peek in and do a little bit in there, come out that one, jump in that one. And that's something that you've taught me, and that's weekly in our business. We test one thing at a time, right? We
yeah.
look at the business, we go, right, there's a bottleneck in the business this week. Okay, let's test this week. And then we change it and then we move on from that point. So that would be my advice.
Amazing, amazing. Talk to the coaches that are watching this about Attune You, about the business, about like what it is, how it works, just so people get an
Yeah.
understanding of exactly what operation that you're running right now. Because again, I can see the inside of this and the impact that it's
Yeah.
having, but for any coaches that are watching this,
Yeah.
just give them a bit of an insight.
So attune you for me. So first of all, the reason I called it attune you is because attune means to bring harmony and balance, right? And that's what I believe that I want to do to someone's life. But ultimately, my mission with Attune You and what my mission statement is for the company is one that transformation fuels the next. So I believe my transformation has sparked thousands of transformations, if not hundreds of thousands, with what I put on social media. You just don't know from that point. And what I want to do is I want to create a service where people are, going through their transformation and then their transformation sparking the next transformation. And we've done this through multiple ways of coaching. We've got our group coaching, we've got our one-to-one coaching, but on top of that as well, we've got our ambassador program. And our ambassador program is all about a client that goes through a transformation, they become an ambassador of the program, and they help others transform their body as well. We're then going to dive into the influencer market because again, we want to, I'm very passionate now about helping influencers because as much as a lot of them are dickheads, a lot of them are struggling, man. Like really struggling. Most of the influencers that you see that are you think they're living a certain life, they ain't living it. They're getting everything for free. They're broke. And I think you've seen that more so since I've brought you into this world with
Yeah.
conversations we've had with certain people. These influencers are sitting with thousands and thousands of people following them, and they are in a really bad position themselves, and we want to help them actually grow out their business, help other people use the impact they've got. They've built up this following for a reason, but let's use it in an effective way, not just to promote stuff that they don't believe in, to promote something that they believe in. And yeah, that's kind of the mission of not just Attune You, but obviously with what we're doing together. More from the fitness aspect, I want to do that with Attune You with influencers, but myself and you, we're looking to do impact of influence, which is exactly that, helping people with the influence impact other people and help their lives as well.
It's a huge market, and people don't realize the power of influence as well. I mean, if you have a following, you can steer and you can direct your audience in any way that you want. You actually have a lot of control, a lot of responsibility, and exactly
Yeah.
what you said. It's making sure that that responsibility is taken seriously, and the impact that you are having is for the good. We don't want to see people selling teeth whitening and like all
Yeah.
this stuff that they're trying to flog. And
And
like see this
it's
on the inside, it's create a lot of influence. A lot of influencers are just kind of selling their soul to a certain degree.
and do you know what, Josh, as well? Like, it is frustrating to watch, but at the same time, some of them just don't have an option.
Yeah,
Some of them just don't have an option. And it's a shame to see, because as much as I was an entrepreneur that's became an influencer, they're influencers that need to become entrepreneurs.
yeah.
There's a difference. So, yeah, it's a shame to see, but like you said, they've got so much, I think they don't realise how much responsibility they actually have and how much they can direct their audience to something actually that's maybe unhealthy and bad for them, because they're promoting it. So yeah, there's definitely something there that we're working on as well, which is an exciting project for us as well.
Sure, a lot of good things coming.
Yeah,
What would
absolutely.
what's your biggest lesson now having a fitness business with hundreds of clients actually on the books? Like what's the biggest lesson that you've actually learned growing the business to where it is today?
The biggest lesson is focusing on going back to what is your actual mission and sticking to your mission. I think that's the key, right? Again, I did get in a stage where when you start chasing things like certain numbers or certain figures and financials, I think that's when you start spreading the wrong message. It comes across desperate, etc. When you go back to your mission of just, I want to help people. How am I going to help people? So then you get to a stage where you've got 100 people in books. Then you need to look at a different way of how you can help more people. And that's our constant battle, right? We're getting thousands of leads through the business on a weekly, monthly basis. And we're just like constantly trying to work out how we can help more people in some way. So it's just adapting as the business evolves, and it's like taking the first step. Don't try and plan for like having 1,000 people in your books. Like you need to progress to that stage. So that would be it's a journey, right? Not a destination.
Yes, yeah, agreed. The cliche of all self-help books.
Yeah, exactly. I actually seen that in Happy Gilmore too this week, and I'm like, I like that.
It is a good film, actually. It did. It
Yeah,
did. I was skeptical at first, but it did crack me up a few times when I watched it.
yeah. They've done it good, to be fair.
No, they did. They did. What's next for Anton? What's next for Attune You? And also, more importantly, where do you see the future of the fitness industry going?
Okay, what one will I target first? The future of the fitness industry and where it's going.
Yeah, especially with the rise of like AI now, and there's so many more people who are leaving school and they're just trying to go into an online business. They're not having the stepping stones that we went through in our earlier careers.
Yeah,
They're just bang, like straight into it.
I don't like it. I don't like the direction, not only of the way the fitness industry is going, just the way that the life's going. Right. I think that we've realised over the last few months of how hard trust is to be earned now. It's
Yeah.
crazy, because you put in your bio online coach and that's it. When I used to, when I had I've still got it in my office back home, is I've got all my certificates up. I'm proud of having to earn that.
Yes.
Now your certificates having X amount of followers on your Instagram and having online coach in your bio. And it's just, where's the trust element of that? So I don't like it from that standpoint. And I do believe that there should be a stricter, like you need fitness insurance back in the day. You had to have all that. And I just think there just needs to be like a stricter policy on it, but it's not. It's not going to happen, right? That's the only thing. I do think that the fitness business is always evolving and always growing. With regards to AI, there's this whole conversation now is like, do you think AI will take over, coaching? It won't, right? Because people aren't buying a fitness plan, they're buying accountability and coaching, right? So it's more so the accountability side of things, I believe, or and I think people are craving also as well is that connection with other people now, especially after COVID. So I'm not concerned about AI taking over. I think actually, if you're a smart business owner and you actually use AI to benefit and help your business. So yeah, all in all, I don't particularly like the direction the fitness industry is going, but that's not to do with the fitness professionals in it. It's to do with people like influencers. It's the fake fitness people, I suppose, that have just got a good body and think they can sell a fitness plan. I always say it, I've got good hair, but I wouldn't cut your hair, right? Like, it just doesn't work that way.
Yeah, I like that. Okay, mate, thank you so much for your time. It's been really, really good to have you. And again, getting you to tell your story again and just giving coaches an insight in regards to what it's like to be on the flip side of actually having a large following, having a large influence, and still being true to you and your roots and the impact that you're actually having. It's an amazing journey, and I'm really excited to obviously see the rest of it unfold as well.
Yeah.
What's something that you'd like to leave this conversation on for any coaches that are watching this who have watched this conversation?
Yeah.
What would you like to leave them on? What piece of advice would you like to give them?
Don't give up on yourself. I think that's the key. Because for so long I gave up on myself. And I think that if you work hard, you have a plan in place and you take massive action, you can't fail. You just have to be consistent. And that is the key. Just don't give up on yourself. Because I see it across the board now with a lot of coaches that are really, really struggling because of, I used to look at these other influencers and I'm thinking, I know you've got a successful, fitness app or whatever, and you just don't deserve it. But their success doesn't affect my success. So stop. I'm not going to change that. Stop feeling sorry about it and feeling bad about it and just fucking get it. That's the way life is, and focus on your own lane and go after it. And for a long time, I spent a lot of time, they don't deserve that. That's got nothing to do with me. That's got nothing to do with me. Focus on your own lane and go forward. So that's what I would say to any coach, and just keep believing.
Incredible. Where can people find you?
Anton _ Danyluk on Instagram is the main place to find me. Yeah, on there.
And will be YouTube. And will be YouTube.
It will be YouTube. Again, like massive things that we don't have it all together, and we in the business as well. We're now at a stage where I'm really struggling with my time management and to create content, and that's now what we realise is such a big part of my role. So yeah, it's always it's an evolving journey, right? So yes, on YouTube. Well, I'm on YouTube. I just don't post.
He will be.
I will be.
No, legend. Thank you so much for your time
No
again.
problem. Anything for you, mate.